bass. Okie dokie, roll. Turn up the bass. Okie dokie, roll. Turn up the bass. Okie dokie, roll.
Can't they?
Well, one would hope so, but then again, they are a government agency and they are the weather guessers. There are very few professions where you can be wrong the majority of time and still be highly successful.
Yeah.
Which, good evening, everyone. Yep, we're having fun. We're kicking back because why the hell not? Yes, it's been a while since we've done a few of these in a row, and I've had the time, so I have felt like, why not? Don't get too used to it though, because my schedule's gonna fill back up soon. But in the meantime, since I have the time available, we're here. But yeah, so it's actually funny you mentioned that weather issue, Alan, because actually, Brett and I have been trying to find a weekend where the weather is good enough to install the dash cam in his new car because we have to have the doors wide open for the entirety of the installation. And so
Indeed.
Friday morning, looking at the weather, it looked like they were maybe a shower before 6 in the morning, maybe another shower around 9, 10 o'clock at night, but nothing throughout the day. It's like, okay, great. Yeah, we'll plan for what was today, but we'll check back end of the night, see if the forecast is still holding true. Check back again at about 10:30 at night, and complete 180 on the forecast. It went from being dry all day to no less than a 20% chance of rain the entire day.
Yeah, sounds about par for the course. I shall probably be going out about a couple of hours to try and catch the sunrise. There's a shot I would like to get, and looking at what was going on out there, I think it might be doable this morning. So,
Are you going to try to get underlit clouds? Because with that high cloud cover you currently have, if that holds, then you would be able to do it.
oh yeah, I mean I can get underlit clouds all the time. In fact, was it last night? I was sitting eating my dinner, looking out the living room window, thinking, oh, they look really rather nice for, on the sunset.
Mm.
But no, well, you saw the photos I posted from last week. Um, the the church in the next village is nicely visible, and if I go a little bit up the road from where I was last week, I should be able to get the sun rising directly behind the church tower,
Nice.
which I think
That,
should make quite a good photo.
yeah, that it should.
But I need to be doing it soon because otherwise the sun's going to be rising too far north for me to be able to get the shot. Simply because I'm going to run out of road and get stuck behind a big load of trees.
Yeah, I think that's something that I don't know. How can that happen if the Earth is flat? Oh wait,
Yeah,
that's right. Sorry.
it can't.
Hmm.
So someone had to say it, and especially because, uh, th- those special children on the internet really don't like what has become my primary question to them, and that's trying to get them to explain why reciprocal zeniths. Why do two plumb lines a known distance apart diverge instead of stay parallel?
Yeah. Well, I think the really easy question to ask is, where does the sun go at night?
Away. That is legit the most consistent answer that you get from them. When you ask where does the sun go or anything to do with a sunset, the answer boils down to away.
Away where? Far away.
Oh, well, we
Yeah.
don't
I
know that and we can't know that.
I think I
Interesting.
need to ask that to my 4-year-old grandson and see what he says.
See, I would expect that kind of answer from a 4-year-old, not someone who has the cognitive ability to effectively use the internet.
Yeah, well, my daughter does keep trying to wind me up by threatening to teach him that it's a flat Earth.
Now, this is the same one that we have the recording of, right?
Yes, yes. Are you talking to retards
At least,
again?
Oh,
at least we know.
You see what it
Go ahead, Tech.
see what it is that computers have gotten extremely simple to use, and it's given very widespread access to the internet, so that pretty much any idiot can get online nowadays.
which should be sad.
Yeah, I know it's often attributed to Einstein, but there's the quote out there that was turned into a meme that if you give people easy enough access to all of the information available, it does no good. They're still going to be idiots. And we're living in the time of history that is showing that to be true.
So I experience this in my thing too, for example, because like from an HRTA point of view, um, I talk about Indeed all the time. That Indeed is a great platform. It makes it's both good and bad. It's very good because it makes it very easy for people to apply to find and apply to jobs. It's also very bad because it makes it very easy for people to apply jobs.
Right, because I can just imagine how much overload of not even borderline qualified, straight up not qualified people are applying for some of these jobs through there. That's where it takes a special kind of person to be able to deal with and filter through that. So I don't envy you on that kind of role.
Oh yes, a lot of filter.
The thing that scares me is that both of my grandchildren, the 4-year-old and the 3-year-old, are capable of working a mobile phone and especially getting YouTube to come up.
Well, I don't want this to come off as a dig against you, Alan, but just for a frame of reference, Apple in their interface has actually made it intentionally easy for older generations who are not technically savvy to be able to use them with ease. Byproduct of that is that it makes it exceptionally easy for children too.
They don't. Yes, okay. Their mother has got an Apple thingy, but they're equally at home attacking my Samsung Android phone. Although one thing I have noticed is on Android I have the option for YouTube Kids,
Yep.
which does not put any adverts on.
And it also will
But-
prevent a channel like mine from showing up.
Correct.
Because I mark this shit straight up as not for kids.
Yeah.
The downside to YouTube Kids is all of the content farm nonsense, like Elsa Gate
Well,
being on there.
Well, you do have not just that, but other influences going into the children's market because hate to break it to some people, but if you didn't know, when it comes to marketing and advertising for anything, there are two groups you go for first. And none of us on the panel right now are members of that group. You go for women and you go for kids. Those are the two top groups to market to.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean the funny thing is though that the same service on her iPhone gets adverts on it.
Yeah, I do so much random listening to stuff on YouTube, and so does the wife. So we've actually done a family YouTube premium, so I don't get ads anymore on my phone. And I haven't gotten ads on the website version for years because you get a good ad blocker, things are lovely. Oh, okay, Rodent, we may be juvenile at times, but that doesn't mean our content is suitable for kids. And then some of the topics we go into, some of the language that we use, yeah, it'll go off the rails quickly. And that's part of the fun.
I take it part of that not friendly for kids stuff is probably going to come up later today, like what you brought up with me just before we started.
That I brought that up to you because you're technically directly involved and
Yeah,
deserve
that's
to know.
fair. Yeah, but I'm
subjects
asking-
like that, yes.
yeah.
Well,
And I take it you want that to stay in the background for right now.
Yep.
Okay.
yeah. My grandson has learned 2 new words in the last week or so.
Oh no.
Wait, well, one of them's not mother, but
One of them is obviously the word beginning with F.
yep. So that's where I was going. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, and the other one is the word that we don't mind using too much in this country, but would horrify an American. The word beginning with C.
Oh, wait.
Oh, that one that
Wait. Hang on.
YouTube thinks is racist because
Oh,
Australians are no longer allowed to say it online.
yeah, well, and that's what I was about to say. I was like, wait a minute, Alan, you're not in Australia. You're in Britain. Why
Yeah.
would that one be? I would expect twat to come up before that one.
It's
No,
only
no,
slightly less common than Australia over there.
We use it almost as much as the Australians do.
Mm.
Especially if you hang around military types.
Have you been an appropriate influence on your grandchildren, Alan?
No, I've been an appropriate influence on my daughter. She's been the appropriate influence on my grandchildren, I think.
Yeah, the Scottish do use that as pronunciation sometimes.
Yeah, there was a stretch of time where almost every other word was going to be the F word. And I knew it was getting bad when I was on a phone call with my mom while I was in a school in Pensacola. And after I was telling her something, there was a couple seconds of silence. And then she said, "You do realize who you're on the phone with, right?" And I shit you not, the first thing that come out of my mouth was, "Oh fuck. God damn it." But yeah, it's certain environments definitely meld you to certain conventions of communication and interaction.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the silly thing is that I was well out of the service by the time my daughter was born. But then I started hanging around. I started going to a lot of veterans groups and stuff, and she would
That'll
come
do it.
with me. And yeah, exactly, that'll do it. That and of course, just driving around because we do tend to shout those words at lots of other road users.
Rightfully so, especially if they're in certain makes of vehicles, because apparently they don't want to pay the extra for actual working turn signals.
Yeah. Oh, what you mean? You mean Audi drivers like my son-in-law?
Audi, Mercedes,
BMW.
What's even worse are the people who buy BMW motorcycles, because not only do you get the typical BMW BMW attitude, but now they're on two wheels and can piss off even more people.
Oh no.
And over in non-America, lane filtering is legal almost universally.
Yeah, although I don't think doing what I did one day and lane splitting on the M25 London Orbital Motorway while I'm doing 90 and the trucks are doing 60.
Yeah, probably not a good idea, but I bet you had fun doing it.
Oh yeah. or when I went to when I went down to Cornwall to watch the 1999 eclipse on the motorbike with my 9-year-old son on the back, and coming back we were stuck in a traffic jam of motorbikes filtering through the traffic jam of cars.
That is just some shitty luck. Hey, birds.
Howdy, howdy. Make sure everything's working here.
Yeah, we can hear
Yeah,
you.
Okay, wasn't sure.
there was that much traffic.
Well, I'm sure the eclipse had nothing to do with it. I mean, it's not like a 16-hour drive from, well, no, what should have been closer to a 14-hour drive from the middle of Tennessee took me almost 24.
Yeah, well, we left Falmouth at around 1300, and we managed to make it about 120 miles by 2100.
Wow. Yeah, that well,
And we were lucky. We were on a motorbike. We were actually we were actually doing 10 miles an hour most of the time.
well, yeah, because you could filter through large chunks until someone was being oblivious and didn't quite leave enough room between the lanes. But generally, at that point, you cut over and go onto the shoulder.
Yeah. Oh yeah, but yeah. I mean, actually, what it was more, you'd get to a choke point where you could only get one bike at a time through. So the bike were having to stop as well.
Yeah, that. I'm trying to think of the longest mileage wise I've gone on the bike in a day. I think it was between 3 and 350 miles. That's the most I've done in a day so far. And most of that is because at the worst, a daily commute I've done, so split up throughout the day, was a little over 100, like 120, 130 miles. And because of traffic, that was like 4 hours on the bike.
Yeah, I mean, in the summertime, I used to go out for pleasure rides with the local advanced motorcyclist group, and you know, a Sunday morning pleasure ride would be 100, 120 miles.
It's about half a tank. Yeah, that's not bad. That is actually an average day for me. It's just I haven't stretched it to see how far I could go in a day. But granted, I'm not on the most comfortable of bikes for a longer ride yet.
Yeah, I mean, that actually going out for rides with that group was interesting. Did a ride with one guy, and we pulled into a closed down petrol station, service station, forecourt, and we basically just walked along the road because it was quiet, so it wasn't a lot of traffic, talking about where the bike should be positioned, how fast you should be going, what you should be looking at, how much further in front of you should be looking than you actually probably were. And we did about 50, maybe 75 yards of road that we walked on along. Took us over an hour. But then
Wow.
this guy rode a bike at work. He did 100,000 miles a year at work and another 50,000 miles a year on his own bike. He was a police riding instructor and examiner and head
That
of
would
the Police Federation motorcycle. You know, if questions got asked about motorcycling by the police, it kind of went to him. He was also one of the top people for motorcycling in the Institute of Advanced Motorists as well.
that would explain the amount of mileage he would rack up in a year.
Yeah. But by God, was getting a riding lesson off him useful. I mean, he had a big Yamaha touring bike, and I've watched him riding on our typical A roads, and guys on things like Fireblades tying themselves in knots trying to keep up with him.
Well, and that's
And
the
he
thing.
looks like he's just driving down the freeway.
Well, and that's the thing that a lot of people don't realize is it's not always it's usually not the equipment, it's the rider. And if you know the equipment, you're comfortable on the equipment, and you have the skills, you can get through an area, no matter how twisty, at a decent clip if you know what you're doing and you have control of the bike. I've gotten to the point where for a number of the roads around me that I regularly ride, I barely touch the brakes. Like, I'll touch the brakes just enough to turn the light on to let people behind me know, hey, you should pay attention and don't follow me at my speed.
Yeah. I've seen online now, because obviously I can't even allow to drive. You know, I'm not allowed to drive, so I don't ride bikes anymore. But you can now get a box with a accelerometer in it to turn the light on for you when you're using engine braking.
Huh.
So as you come off the gas, it lights your brake light for you.
I like that.
Because that was one of the rules of going out for rides with the IAM group. You don't use your brakes.
Yeah, you only use them when you have to.
Yeah, like when you're actually coming to a stop. But if you're just adjusting speed for road conditions, you should just be going up and down the gearbox and on the throttle.
Yeah, because especially on public roads, if you're carrying enough speed to justify hitting the brakes, you might be going too fast for the conditions. That's the mindset that I've always had and have been aware of. But then again, you have some content creators out there in the motorcycle sphere who have straight up said in a video, if you're not using your brakes for a turn when you're going through the mountains or on a recreational ride, then you're slow and you're not a good rider.
Like I said, I think I know somebody who would disagree with that.
Yeah, there's a reason why I don't watch MotoJitsu much anymore. Because after his third or fourth time putting that message across, and I called him out on it in the comments of the video, he decided to stop making his videos to where you could comment on them. Did this whole thing of, oh, well, so, bit of frame of reference for people who don't know who this guy is. he is a motorcycle centric content creator here on YouTube, has his own training plan that he's come up with and sells, and he does promote and focus on always practice, always train, always be putting in the hours to get better. That part I agree with. Other bit of frame of reference that might start to explain the psychology that he uses. Guy's a former Marine. Former Marine drill sergeant.
Oh no.
So even when he's wrong, he's not wrong.
He's right. Yeah. Well, it's funny because a friend of mine did. If you get caught not too far over the speed limit on the first time, you can do a speed awareness course rather than getting points and a fine, which is a damn good thing to do. And he was apparently they on the speed awareness courses they tell you that you should not be using engine braking, that you should be using your brakes all of the time. And that just seems so wrong to me.
Wait, run that by me again?
On the official speed awareness courses,
Mm-hmm.
they now tell you, apparently they tell you that you should not be using engine braking. You should be using the brakes. Engine braking is bad.
From their standpoint, I can kind of see why they would stress that, and it's for one reason. When you factor in newer bikes, so bikes that are 10 years old or less, they all have ABS. You are going to have better control in your speed reduction and coming to a stop using the brakes rather than just rolling off. So from there, I can kind of see why they would push towards that, especially once you add in the ABS portion where it's damn near impossible to lock up the front unless you get rid of the ABS system. So I'm with you that I think appropriate modulation of both needs to be stressed. I can see where a lot of things like that are tailored towards the new rider, not the experienced rider.
Yeah, I mean, because the other advantage of engine braking is that you are constantly running up and down the gearbox, so that you are also in the correct gear to start accelerating again afterwards.
Right. Well, and that's actually one of the things, especially when I'm in traffic, I'll use my downshifts with the engine braking to a point, unless someone does something stupid and I have to come to a stop faster than I want, at which point brakes, clutch, come to a stop, then shift down to all the way to first at that point, because I'm at a dead stop.
Yeah.
But that would more fall under the emergency braking aspect and not regular braking.
Correct.
Even though it wasn't really an emergency, it was more fucking asshole in front of me did something stupid and I don't want to go into them.
Yeah. Yeah. You want to stop reasonably clear of them.
Right.
But yeah, because I mean, I wouldn't want to be changing gear while also braking, particularly. Unless I'm in town, unless I'm in town type traffic.
Well, this may be my more track focused origins on the biking experience. Like the whole thing of don't change gears when you're in the middle of a turn. Yeah. I don't have a problem doing it. Mainly because my skill level and my control over the bike I have, and the fact that I'm on a Monster 620. When it was new, it maybe had 70 horsepower. And it's a 2005. Thing is almost 20 years old. So I don't have that big power bit to it, but it's one of those, I know the bike, my tires, and suspension enough that I know what I can and can't do. Plus, I'm actually paying attention to the road surface. So if it is not a surface that I'm 100% comfortable with, then no, I wait until I'm on the back side of the turn, and then as I'm coming up and accelerating, if I need to shift, I will. But there's also a lot of people aren't as good with the clutch control and keeping it smooth. That's the big thing where people go wrong, is they're not smooth on their inputs. And that doesn't mean slow. That doesn't mean anything to do with the reaction time. It's all how they can modulate it and keep it balanced.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, most of the time while I was in motion on the bike and doing gear changes, I wouldn't even touch the clutch.
Downshifts,
Up
I
or
do.
down. Up or down.
Downshifts I do because I tend to do a little more aggressive on the downshift to enhance the engine braking without locking up the tire because I don't have a slipper clutch. But upshifts, it really depends. Like, if I'm trying to get away from someone to give myself more of a safety buffer, yeah, I'll do a clutchless up because I need that time. But otherwise, I'll still do it mainly because it keeps everything flowing.
Yeah, of course. Of course, there was the one. There was the one night where I got a 20-mile drive home from work, and I jump on the bike and pull in the clutch lever to pull away, and it goes twang.
Oh, cable clutch.
Yeah.
Mine's
Oh,
hydraulic.
this was a 1983 Kawasaki Z750.
Ooh.
Yeah, and it was a 15-year-old bike at the time. Yeah, at the time, so it was a bit, and it had a hard life.
Yeah, that's actually something that I'm looking at now. I'm looking at where I can source certain long time consumable items like a throttle cable. Not because there's an issue with mine at the moment, but it's, again, my bike is 19 years old now. Next year it's going to be 20. And I don't want to stop riding it because something stupid like a throttle cable broke. And I can't find a replacement.
Yeah. Well, I think the luckiest thing I found with my with Kawasaki was the day I came back from university and it had snowed, and I nearly got home without problem, and then I had to stop at a crossroads because I was on the side road and I dropped it and I smashed the timing case cover.
Ooh.
Yeah, ooh. And I thought, so I phoned around breakers yards and what have you to try and get a new timing case cover. And of course, the breakers don't want to sell them because they want to sell you a complete engine, don't they?
Right. Partly because it's easier and they make more money.
Yeah, so I bit the bullet and I phoned the local Kawasaki main dealers. And the guy does the guy punches the numbers and comes back and says, including delivery to the dealers, that will be £23.
Yeah, that is the thing with Japanese bikes. A lot
And
of
I
the
was like,
parts are freaking cheap.
and then he went, and there was like an indentation in the middle of it that had a red and silver Kawasaki logo, which is actually a metallic sticker. And he asked me if I wanted the sticker, so I said, how much? And he does the calculations again and says, 93 quid
For a sticker?
For the
for the
fucking wow.
sticker.
No.
That's where they get you.
$2.
Accessories, accessories, accessories.
Yeah.
Guess who didn't have a little Kawasaki sticker in his timing case cover after that? The thing I realized afterwards was at the time they did a bike called the GT 750, which was shaft drive, but it was the same engine.
Mm-hmm.
And it was incredibly popular with the dispatch riders in London and other big cities. And of course, they're smashing things like they're smashing timing case covers and clutch leads,
Oh, yeah.
brake levers and all the time. So of course, they're selling lots of them, so they're cheap.
Well, plus, without the brand logo, I mean, the question is, how many other bikes does that timing cover fit on? I mean, that's another thing. It's like a lot of... So, one of the few sites that actually has parts for my vintage monster is Caprimoto out of Italy. And there are some parts on there that actually aren't that bad for a price. Actually, let me go over there right now, because I've been considering updating the brakes away from the stock axial master cylinders for both brake and clutch to the radial mount, the newer stuff. And let's go here. Yep. Let's take a look here. Actually, you know what? Hang on. I will do this. Where's the screen share? There's the screen share. Let's share. No, let's just go entire screen.
Oh, there we go.
I don't care about infinity mirror. All right. Yeah. Shut up.
Kitty.
So put in make and model. Yeah. Brakes. Messenger cylinder. So we have all these fancy new radial ones at between $200 and $300 each. But the stock ones actually aren't showing up there. Ooh. Ah, that's why that was the Racing Master cylinder. Street. There we go. Really? You went radial street, you bastards. There's the stock one.
€81.
As cheap as 80.
Yeah.
Yep.
Less than a third of the price. This is what's currently on the bike. And it's like, do I go to the radio?
And you won't have to pay the VAT on it either, will you? And you won't have to pay the probably close to 20% VAT on it either, because you're in, you're not in the EU.
Right. But one of the things is, if I were to do this, because I can't find a rebuild kit for the master cylinders either. It's like they're due for a rebuild, clutch and brake. I want to replace the levers, but because right now I have adjustable shorties, but I want to go back to the full length, but adjustable. I am not doing non-adjustable levers ever. But trying to find something that I can put to the bike has been a pain in the dick. Oh, and had dealt with this recently too. Brake rotors for the front. Italian bike. Take a wild guess what brand the stock ones are.
Brembo.
Of course. Take a guess how much it is for one replacement OEM compatible rotor from Brembo for the bike.
On the US market, probably $100.
More.
More?
250,
More.
500.
Close. It was $600 for both, plus shipping and tax.
No.
$300 each through eBay.
Oh no.
Direct from Brembo, then you're getting close to the 500 each.
No.
So I put EBC rotors on. A nice British company. Take a guess how much theirs were.
Probably closer to 200 each.
Probably about $100.
$120 each, tax and shipping included.
Yeah.
Wow.
The only thing I don't like is the EBC ones don't quite have the same level of initial bite that the Brembos do. But am I really going to nitpick about that? Plus, if I really wanted to increase the bite, I could take a bit of Scotch-Brite and scuff up and rebed in the pads again.
Yeah, I mean it's weird. On my Honda that I had, rear shock. They found. Fortunately, I had the testing done as early as possible before the test ran out, so I could still ride the bike afterwards to get the repair done. But they failed it on the rear shock, and they wanted about £300 for a new rear shock, and because it turned out the one that was on there was an aftermarket one made by a company called Hagon. And their factory was about 8 miles from where Mum and Dad lived. So I rode the bike down to the old man. We stuck it in his garage. We took the shock off. He then drove me over to the factory so that I could go get a rebuilt one. I get there, they haven't got any rebuilt ones in stock. So they sent us round the corner at the CAF, and an hour and a half later we went back to the factory, and they had rebuilt my shock for me for 25 quid.
Yeah, that's actually another thing that I've been looking at on the Monster is, do I get an internals kit for the front end to make it fully adjustable, or do I just completely replace the entire front end? I mean, it's tough because there's only one company right now that offers a replacement internals kit for the front forks. But I also don't have the tools to do it myself, so it's like,
No. Yeah, it's not this. It's. I mean, I rebuilt the front forks on the Kawasaki. It was interesting because the Haynes manual says separate the slider from the stanchion, and it kind of implies that you can just pull it apart. What you actually do is you lock off the slider and you bang the stanchion up and down like you're hammering it with a slide hammer, and eventually it all comes apart.
That doesn't sound good.
No, it's exactly what you're supposed to do. They just don't tell you how hard you have to bash it in the book. I actually phoned up somebody who knew, and they said, "Yeah, just bash it like fuck. It'll come out. It's fine." And it did, and it all went back together. So the first leg took me 3 hours. The second leg took me the second leg took me 30 minutes from start to finish. It's oh so much easier when you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
nah. Oh, and so I decided to pull it up just to see where pricing is at now. That's one disc.
Oh,
Holy hell.
A UK price.
Whoa!
You realise that the UK price includes 20% tax on that, don't you?
Take away the 20%, now add shipping. I was still looking at between $600 and $700 because my bike has two on the front, not just the one.
Yeah.
That's where you can, doing genuine parts is the way to go. Except if there's that excessive stupid addition on it. But before I go further in depth on stuff to do with the current bike, game plan is to actually get my hands on a multi-strata first, and then have that be the daily driver, have the monster be the bit of a toy, which will give me time to do a full strip down and refurb, which is why it's like, when that happens, how much upgrades do I want to do? Do I want to upgrade the brakes? Probably. Do I want to upgrade the front suspension and make it adjustable? Fuck yes, but which route am I going to go to do that? Am I going to get the front end from another bike that came stock with an adjustable front end? Or am I going to have to aftermarket it and get completely new forks, or just the internals? If I have to do new forks, I'm going to have to change the brake calipers because all of the new-ish ones that are adjustable suspension, the mounting points for the brake calipers are not the same on the front. Yeah. Start getting down a rabbit hole, and it's like, how much of the bike is going to end up being changed. At least a, increasing adjustability and getting the rear sprung properly for my weight. That's the easy one. It's the front that's a pain to decide on how to manage it and how in depth to go. Oh, plus there's some electrical stuff that I would want to redo.
It's Italian. Of course, there's electrical stuff you
Oh,
want to redo.
Well, so okay, so there's nothing to fix on the electrical side because this is from 0506. The Germans had come in and the electrical bugs were 90 something percent gone. I don't have an electrical issue in the bike, but I recently took off the heated grips because my actual grips were worn and the new grips that I got to put on didn't quite fit over the heating elements.
Uh-oh.
We're getting to that time of year. I don't need the heated grips anyways. So, plus my plan, I'm not going to ride as deep into the winter this upcoming year as I did this past year. So I'm not so worried about whether or not I have heated grips on this bike going forward. But it was just one of those things that was annoying, especially seeing as how because I put in a secondary rectifier to make the heated grips that were in there work better, because the heated grips that went on when I redid the grips last time, they were a 24 12 volt setup, not a 12 6 volt setup. So I actually had to put in a boost to take the 12 volt DC in the system, bump it up to 24 to actually have high heat working on the heated grips. But
Well,
now that those aren't in, I could take all of the associated wiring out and take that other boost out, store it aside. Because it's not if I'll use it again, it's when and for what.
well, I mean, things could be even worse for you. You could have Electrics by Lucas, the Prince of Darkness.
True. Ooh, speaking of darkness. Hi, kitten. I just got rubbed on the leg by a cat.
Aww.
There's a headlight that years ago I thought about getting for the bike. There it is from Motodemic. It's an LED headlight that fits into the bucket of the old school single glass 7-incher. It's on the bike now. But it's let's go. What's the difference? Oh yeah, I want the adaptive. It's combination high and low beam, but going with the adaptive LED option, it also lights up more when it senses you tipping over for a turn. So it actually will illuminate into the turn better when you're tipped over. Oh boy. Yeah, that's a $800 upgrade.
Ooh.
But again, riding at night, it'd be so worth it to have LED, high quality, actual white light headlight, low and high beam, and the adaptive additional lighting into the corner.
Yeah, that was one of the things that wasn't great on the bikes I had. They didn't illuminate well on the way home at night. It was a good job I knew the roads.
Yeah. Oh, and that's the connection I already have. Nice. Well, I don't need a adapter harness for it. But yeah, that's something for later. All right, and see if any other fun stuff has been going on. Oh, what's this guy responding to? Oh. Fucking people, something. Oh, goddamn. Hang on. I gotta pin that one.
Oh, what the hell?
Spot the problems, everyone.
I know that the stripes are off for. Oh, wait a minute. This is Army, isn't it?
Nope.
No.
These are Navy dress
He is
whites.
consistent. Yeah, he is consistent. At least that everything there does appear to be at least Navy.
Yeah.
Okay.
I will give him that.
Yeah, I saw the 3 chevrons in one rocker and thought Staff Sergeant, but wait a minute, those are upside down. That's not Army.
Okay, so it looks like he has a Master Chief rating badge on, plus the service stripes, plus officer insignia, and that is some command level senior enlisted badge below the ribbon rack and warfare pins. So
That's supposedly 18 years of service, if I'm reading that correctly. Anywhere between
CW
18 and 20.
CWO sleeve stripe with a line officer star.
Yeah, that's where I was about to say. Let's start going through the problems here. I wish we could see the badge that's over his name tag, because there are only a few devices that go over there, and
that looks purposely wrinkled.
Well, boy is a bit big, but
yeah,
that
that
aside,
wrinkling should still be, at least pressed out instead of what looks to be a deliberate obfuscation.
Oh no, this is just the way it's hanging on his body. Keep in mind,
Really?
Buddy has, you can tell, Buddy has a gut.
Yeah, but
so he has the stress white top sized for his gut, not his chest. That's why it looks so bad from how it's hanging on him. But as for problems with what he has actually put onto the uniform, first thing, The dress whites. When it comes to an officer's rank insignia or rank demarcation, it's the shoulder boards, not the braid at the bottom of the cuff. The braid on the bottom of the cuff goes on the dress blues, which does not have the shoulder boards on the outer jacket. The dress blues has a white collared shirt underneath, and the white collared shirt has the shoulder boards, because if you take the coat off, you still have your rank displayed. Part 2. Well, part 2 has already been mentioned by Tech. If you are a warrant officer, where that star is above the braid, if you were in the dress blues, would not be a star. It would be the mark that is on the shoulder boards. It would be the type of warrant officer you are. Are you engineering? Are you an avionics tech? Are you an aviation ordnanceman? Are you a gunner's mate? The handful of rates that have a warrant officer specialty, that's the mark that goes there, not the line officer star. And here's another thing with the line officer star. It's upside down. When it's on the sleeve like that, it points down to the braid. 2 points at the top, 1 at the bottom.
Oh, that's a new one for me.
Yeah. Those service stripes you were looking at?
Uh-huh.
That's an enlisted item, not officers. You can
I
find...
take it the rank on the bicep is also supposed to be enlisted.
Correct. You will find those on a dress white uniform, but not in conjunction with officer markings. Because the E7 to E9 pay grades, the chief, senior chief, and master chief ranks wear the same base uniform as the officers. It's just different insignia on the cap and for rank denotation. Now here's where it gets creative and actually fits. It looks like those are that's a Master Chief rating badge. It looks like there are 2 stars there, which would coincide with that lower badge on his left breast, which is a senior enlisted advisor for either a command or above in the structure. That's a badge that you wear as a command, force, or fleet master chief.
Oddly enough, though, his arm insignia, it doesn't actually look like it's a command master chief. It looks like it's an RM.
Yeah.
Or an IT now, but it looks like the RMIT lightning bolts, not the silver star
or
that
gold
it would
star.
be, or gore if it was a fleet force. Yeah.
Yeah. And
it's not gold for one enough. It's silver. I know that much.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is your command. Yeah, I think command and I think fleet and force go gold.
Yeah, fleet force is gold, command silver.
Yeah. Now here's another funny thing. Working our way up the arm then across. That top warfare pin. That's a naval aviator pin.
The one above the rank locker?
No, the one above the ribbon rack.
Oh.
The one below it looks like it's an it looks like it might be an engineering of some sort.
Yeah, that's either that's a surface engineering officer pin. But he has the naval aviator pin at the top. The Navy doesn't let chief warrant officers fly.
It only lets commissioned officers fly, just like the Air Force and the Marine Corps.
There has been talk about doing a flying chief warrant officer for helicopters in the Navy, a la what the Army does, but it's only ever been talk. They haven't actually enacted the program. But the Army also does something else that the other branches don't do either, and that's the requirement you have to reach before you can become a warrant officer.
Oh, by the way, there have been flying chief warrant officers in the Navy before, but I'll just put it this way: this
Not in
guy
the jet
is
age?
way too young.
Yeah, so not in the jet age. But yeah, so that's actually something that a lot of people don't realize, is that Army warrant officers, it's what, E5, and then you can potentially be picked up for a warrant officer, especially flying.
I think it depends on the MOS and the unit commander's discretion.
Well, that is always going to be a part of it, but the pay grade you have to reach before even applying to it is E5 in the Army.
Yep.
It's E7 in the Navy and Marines.
Loosely on the topic of E5 being the prerequisite to go more in the Army, they're actually changing a few of the prerequisites to become an E5. They're dropping BLC. Well, no, they're not dropping that. They're dropping the distributed learning courses altogether. That was effective immediately during the middle of last week. But if you're an E4 and you've already done the necessary, NCO schooling to become an E5, you automatically get 150 points. Same with if you're already an E5 and you've already done advanced leadership course to become an E6, you automatically get 150 promotion points. The offset to that is now the maximum point requirement that your MOS can be set to be promoted to the next rank is no longer 800. It's now 950. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, oddly enough, too, I don't know if it's changed though, but at least like it was my end though. It was actually for the LDO was actually lower than the chief warrant officer.
Right. Yeah. No. When I got out, and last I checked a handful of years ago, it was still the same. To go LDO, to be a limited duty officer, you had to be E6 board eligible for chief. Whereas to go to a chief warrant officer, you had to be an E7.
Yeah, because we actually when I was leaving, actually there was two people on my boat that were actually going. We had a senior chief who was becoming a warrant officer, and a petty officer first class going into the LDO program.
Yeah. At one point, I considered LDO, but I don't like playing politics. So it's like, yeah, no, I'll go make more money elsewhere. But yeah, so
Well, if you're a chief, you're already playing politics, so.
Well, yeah, but you get to the chief level, you're playing politics to get even further up. At that point, it's like, had I stayed in and made chief, I would have stayed in long enough to retire, and they would have had to made it really, really worthwhile for me to stay in beyond that. Though, knowing my luck, they probably would have pulled the same thing on me that they did with my dad. And it was like, oh, Yeah, no, we're going to hold your retirement package because we don't have someone qualified enough to fill your billet that you're currently in. So we're going to extend you there until we have someone that will then be able to take your place. Now, mind you, my dad was the senior enlisted advisor at the IMF and the senior enlisted tech rep at the IMF in Groton when he retired.
And I take it you're not allowed to say, no, give me my retirement package now.
Certain positions, no. And because... So, all right, let's work it this way. The military as a whole, compared to the population of the U.S., is a small community. Each branch is a smaller community from there. Now, in the Navy, submarine fleet is an even smaller community from there. Now go into the nuke bubbleheads. They're an even smaller community. And then as you go up in pay grade, it's just that much smaller and that much smaller. There were maybe 4 potential people in the Navy on active duty when my dad retired that were even close to the experience to be able to transfer in.
A Navy submarine nuke SEA. We're talking about a teeny tiny little itty bitty.
Yeah.
Damn.
So it's one of those things. The longer you stay in, yeah, there are benefits. Yeah, there's that bit of built-in politicking, but at the same time, in certain fields, you stay in long enough and get into that senior chief area. How many other people are you really competing with for billets and assignments? Not many. But it also pisses off a lot of people below because a lot of times you have to wait for certain people to retire just so you can get promoted.
Sounds like the opposite problem from what the Army's having overall.
Yeah, well, and that is a minor factor, but one of the factors that I considered in what rate that I was going to do when I joined is like, well, I want to play with aircraft, but I also want to be in something that is technically challenging, technically worth it when I get out, whenever that happens, but also a large enough community that I don't have to play as many of the fuck games or deal with a lot of the bullshit that I know I would have had to deal with had I gone nuke. Not even just subfleet nuke. Had I just been a nuke as well, that alone would have changed a lot of what I had to deal with. Because from the enlisted side, when I joined, people at the school in South Carolina, in Charleston, recognized my name because of my dad and what he scored when he was there in the 70s. And
they still hold a grudge to this day.
No, it's not a grudge. It's, hey, your dad performed at this level. How do you stack up?
Oh, so you were going in the footsteps of a relative giant.
Hey, since we're talking military enlistments, you guys mind if I bring a friend of mine in who missed going into the Army as a warrant by 4 freaking points on his ASVAB?
Excuse me? What?
Yeah, he missed going in warrant rotary flight
by
4
ASVAB
points. By 4 points.
Don't they have a waiver for that?
No.
Not for warrant officers, no. That waiver only exists for initial enlistment. Anything beyond that, you have to score.
And he missed being a warrant officer with rotary aircraft by 4 freaking points.
Yeah, I have a feeling that those 4 points is to make up for a potentially missing Jesus pin somewhere down the line.
No, actually, believe it or not, he's waiting on 2 other waivers to come in and clear before he enlists straight up.
Oh, so he's still a civvy.
Yeah, but
What the fuck is he doing trying to go in straight as a warrant?
Because he wants to fly helicopters.
Go through the enlisted ranks as a mechanic for the helicopters first, then decide on whether or not you want to actually fly the bastards.
I tried to get him to go that. I tried to get him to go that route, but no. He heard the scream of the eagle, so now he wants to jump out of perfectly good aircraft.
101st, fucking idiot.
Yeah, but the chances of him actually getting into the 101st are.
Yeah, no, a little slim.
Yeah,
No. Well, no. Well,
not necessarily, slim.
Bring him on, because we can definitely give him the appropriate frame of mind to have when going in.
Yeah, let me get him on real quick. Let me call him up and see what he's doing. Make sure he's clear. He's got a boat parked out off of Tampa. So yeah.
Yeah, the first question to ask is, why do you want to do it?
Yeah. No.
No, that is legit. The first thing is because if you go in with the wrong motivations, you're going to be fucking hating life.
And the schools that are to follow will make sure of it.
Oh, especially green side, especially Army. They do not give a fuck.
Yeah. And the moment he goes to airborne school, if he goes in with the wrong motivations and he lasts till then, they're going to have a field day with his ass. And then he has to go to air assault school because he wants to specialize in jumping out of choppers, not any old aircraft.
Well, no, because 101st and 82nd, they jump out of both. You have to get your fixed wing clear first, and then from what I've seen and learning talking to people, once you get your basic out of fixed wing, then the rotary is tied in with other MOSs. Like, if you're just going to be a base paratrooper, you're doing fixed wing. You're doing C-130s, cargo plane drops. Not necessarily helos. Because even then, helos, they get close enough to the ground, you don't need a chute to jump out.
No, you don't. Sometimes you don't even need the rope, but usually that helps. But if you go into air assault school, which is the roto jumper, you may as well just go ranger on top of that, because that's what most rangers do to begin with.
Yeah, I was going to say, don't they pair those together anyways?
Yeah, usually they do. And if you say no to ranger school after completing air assault, because you still have to do air assault school. They don't just throw that in once you complete your fucking airborne. Like, you still have to do that school because a roto ring is so vastly different from a regular aircraft.
Yeah.
Hey, Jared, it'd be a 941 number calling in. 941 area code.
Well, yeah, so Here's the thing. If someone's coming in, they have the link and info. It's kind of plain at that point. That is a pretty color on the Sea King, though.
Ooh, hazard yellow.
It's awful bright. I mean, you're not going to miss that.
I think it is bright for a reason. I wonder what that is.
I mean, the nice bright yellow on the Sea King, yeah, is handy when it's doing search and rescue, isn't it?
You know, but with that target on there, I got a question. You know, is it bright yellow with that target on there for a reason?
Yeah, it's,
you know, if you're gonna make something visible for 5 miles and then you put a target on it, aren't you begging for it to be blown out of the sky?
yeah, well, generally they're not operating where there's two-way ranges in operation. Were it to be in a two-way range operation, it would.
Hey guys.
They'd repaint it to the green of the assault squadron.
Oh,
Cool.
they wouldn't do the haze gray.
Yeah, the haze grey or the camouflage that they use when they're flying Royal Marines around.
Yeah, yeah, because that's the thing. The U.S. ones, the training and the coast, well, the training Navy ones, so the shore base attached ones still do the haze gray body, but they then do the nose and tail bright orange.
Yeah.
But if they're a deployable squadron, they're the low vis haze gray all the way across.
Hello, everyone.
Howdy. So I heard you want to make a mistake in life.
Well, I don't know to me if it would be a mistake, but I get what you're saying. So yeah, the quick answer would be yes.
You know. I mean, Luna, I told them that you missed it by 4 points. You missed going
Yeah, I did.
as a warrant by 4 freaking points. You
Yeah, it
needed
was
110 on 110 on one section.
Yep. So I scored high in every section, but where I needed to score a 110 being in my GTs, I scored a 106, which DQ'd me from going in as a warrant officer.
Oh, you scored 4 points low on a field score, not your overall.
Yeah,
Okay.
No, because they look at the individual segments to see where they're at least initially considering putting you.
Yeah, I could have done that. I could have made that decision with my ASVAB scores because I'm 120 across the board.
So here's a question. Have you signed anything yet?
Have I found anything? Like jobs I want?
No, have you signed anything yet?
Have you put your signature on any paper?
No.
Okay.
Good. Because here's something that they have not they don't like mentioning, but is something that you can consider and push for it if you want. Retest.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's what I told you. Retest.
Oh yeah, they said I could retest.
Okay.
But they did tell me at the same time though, if I take a retest, whatever scores I get, so if it ends up being lower, I'm stuck with it.
Yes, they keep the most recent test no matter what. So yes, you run that risk. But if you are comfortable and confident in your knowledge set that you can make up those couple of questions in that segment, it may be worth it, especially if you give yourself time to kind of get some source material and review it first.
Study.
Well, it's like I told my friend you wished here, I kind of got lucky on the test. Especially because I'm terrible at mathematics and I'm terrible at science. So outside of the English part of the GTs, I just guessed on every single question.
Okay, so you're a 106 by luck, not relative.
Well,
okay.
Well, no, overall by on that. So then that's where it's calculated. Okay, so if you don't retest, here's do you already have your degree done, or would you be
Uh, no, I don't have a college degree.
okay? Do you have any college completed?
No.
Okay.
I haven't heard of this one.
So, well, no. So here's what may be your better bet. If you really want to push for a flying warrant in the army, suck it up and go enlisted for a few years, make E5, and be as fucking top mark as you can be in everything else to make your package applying for the program that much better.
Yeah,
All right.
they will take you on merit. They will take you for the skills that you acquired, especially if you're the top of your MOS. Like
All
they,
right.
if you go in as a mechanic, some units might hold contests like across various sections of the army to see which one can maintain a helicopter the best. You better place high in those competitions if they do them.
But you also run, again, this is the risk side of it because Army likes to be fucky like this.
Yes.
You want to be good and notable, but not irreplaceable.
Yeah. You want to be good enough to be, meritorious, not, oh, he's literally the best. We can't fucking lose him.
Well, why don't you tell them your MOS choice?
Well, actually, I've come to back to three open choices. One actually kind of caught my eye that I didn't really see. I probably just skimmed over it. But so I'm looking into right now 11 Bravo to get into Army Rangers, specifically airborne. I'm also looking at 14 Papa for air and missile defense operator, as well as now 35 Lima for counterintelligence agent.
So you're picking three of the communities that if you're good enough to justify going warrant, they're not going to want to let go of you.
Yep. Where is Furball when we need Furball?
Do you want the first answer that came to mind or not?
Well, I mean, obviously, we all know he's getting his dick wet right now. I mean, let's face it.
Oh yeah, it's very wet at the moment.
Not yours.
It's fine. It's too like I'm getting, but I find a little bit wet in a different way. Right now, I'm just kind of working on some wiring in my car.
Yeah, right.
Well, we'll talk to y'all. Actually, I'm setting up a couple of subwoofers in the back of my car.
Yeah,
So
yeah, you keep giving her that Wolfer and Tweeter, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna give her that little Tweedly delete.
So the reason why I immediately had that thought of the three that you're looking at are communities that aren't going to want to let you go. So our mutual friend that you wish was referring to, Furball, he's currently active Army. He is actually going to be retiring in a couple years. He's actually at his final posting right now as a chief warrant. When he was enlisted, he was artillery. Artillery is a large enough community that his higher performance to get him accepted as a warrant officer, but he didn't go flying. He went with the CID route, criminal justice.
Right.
His community was large enough that he wasn't seen as an asset that they have to hold on to. The Army wanted to hold on to him, which is why the package was a good thing, because like, hey, we get him into this area, we can keep him career, makes it easier for us on certain things. But if you target especially a smaller community like your active rangers, airborne, intelligence, those are communities that don't like letting go of people. So
Yeah.
if your big game plan is to fly, pick a larger community to go into on the enlisted side, maybe even aviation maintenance, so you're around the equipment already, which could potentially be something in your favor when you apply for the Flying E5 flying warrant program. That's how you want to look at it. That is the mind frame you want to be in, as if you were big army, would you want to take someone from this community and allow them to leave?
So basically, like if I go 11 Bravo, just go straight standard infantry. Don't try to go airborne.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, general airborne you may be fine, but if you go specifically air assault or a niche within that niche, that's what's going to lock you in.
Yep. It's kind of like what I told you, Luna, was you need to air missile defense. They do pull from they do let specific people go, like HLC. We already had that conversation about HLC the other day because he teaches that course at SIL. So, there are capabilities of going that route, but will they make you a specialist within that field that you're already in, or will they let you actually go rotary aircraft?
Well,
right.
I can say I do have something going in my favor. Thanks to the sergeant that's recruiting me. He told me he's gonna put me in instead of an E1, and he's gonna put me in as an E3.
Okay.
Yeah, so that cuts down. That's going to cut off between a year and 2 years, before you make E5.
Yeah,
off of how long it would take.
Yep.
That's 1 year of guaranteed promotions because you get your E2 at 6 months if you start as a E1 fuzzy, and then you get your E3 6 months after the E2, unless you get wavered for them.
Yeah, and that's what he's talking about. Is he's looking at on graduation from basic, he's going to be an E3, because that's another thing. During basic, you're all E1s, treated as E1s. Now, granted, if you are meritorious or contracted E3, on your graduation date, you start wearing E3, and they will generally backdate pay. But while you are in basic actively training, you're paid as an E1.
Yep. I mean, when I was in, we had like E3s and E4s, and the drills allowed you to wear your rank, but you were still treated like everyone else who was starting as an E fuzzy. You were nothing. You will be nothing. You will amount to nothing until drill says otherwise. Drill is God. End of story.
Yep.
One team, one fight.
Yep.
And
We're
whatever
all fighting the sand cookie monster.
And whatever you do, Luna, do not lose your battle buddy. Even if he is a idiot, I mean, worse than me, idiot, don't lose your battle buddy.
Don't lose your rifle either.
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah.
Oh yeah, I know all about losing a rifle. My rifle will be attached to my body at all times. I ain't going through that one.
If you haven't seen it, Luna, and I don't know that you have, but you need to watch Full Metal Jacket.
Of course, I've watched it. I watched it with you.
Well,
yeah, that's right, you did. Yeah, that's right, you did. I did show you that one when you were thinking about joining the Corps.
Yeah, so are you familiar with Angry Cops?
Yes.
Angry Cops. I mean, it's kind of self-explanatory, ain't it?
Well, no, it's a channel here on YouTube. He's a full-time reservist, but has done time as a drill instructor and does do reserve training drill style esque in his actual life, but he has done some videos talking about Army basic training and how some things are different. So going to sources like that to get a good snapshot of where things are currently at is going to help you.
Yes.
I'm not gonna outright say that basic training across the board has been kind of pussified, but you might just be underwhelmed by the experience.
I'd say
Unless you get lucky.
let's keep it honest here, man. From what it used to be to what it is now, it really is just pussified.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want drill instructors that will look at these new policies that came out since 2018, because I got out of basic just before they started hitting. You want drill instructors that look at these policies and go, no, fuck that, we're doing it the good way. You want those ones.
Yeah.
You want the ones that treat you like shit enough to make you good at your job.
You want them to break me. I want them to break me.
Well, it's not so much breaking you. It's not so much any of that. You want a proper experience, but more so you want a drill who is a team that's going to give enough of a shit to blur the lines and actually leverage their experience to better convey what actually needs to be learned. Those are the types of drill instructors that I had. Was there was a time to play, but there was a time to shut the fuck up and listen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
that's what I'm hoping to get something like that.
Yeah. But it's one of those. The other thing to keep in the back of your head, that the majority of what you're going to deal with, it's a game. It's a game to weed out, well, it's supposed to weed out the weak. Yeah. Yeah.
Except the only reason why they've put these new policies in place to prevent the drill instructors from doing their job correctly and properly is because the Army has been hurting for numbers for a while. That's why you've probably seen the ASVAB requirement drop from 23 to lower in some areas. And it's probably why you're going to see, let's be honest, a bunch of fucking retards who don't even belong on the short bus, how stupid they are.
Well, that's another thing. It's not that they're that stupid. It's they don't know how to handle stress, and they go into vapor lock. Because let's be legit. We give specifically other specialties and other branches shit based on cognitive stuff because of the stereotypes. Granted, they're there for a reason, but
it's quite prevalent in the Army.
Well, and the Marines, but keep
the
in
Marines
mind,
are a different story.
Keep in mind that the ASVAB actually is a very good overall indicator of actual intelligence capability, which your IQ test is actually not so much about what you know, it's more a problem-solving test. And how malleable is your thought process, and how good are you at solving complex situations and problems?
Right.
That's why the military will not take anyone with, if they were to take a standard IQ test that scores below a 90. Failing the ASVAB, your IQ is below 90. Now, mind you, the number that they put as, I'm going to lean into this term, mentally retarded, your actual mental deficiency, is 80. Because, yeah, the military has deemed that you want someone between 90 and about 120, 125. But you tend to have problems on that end too, because if you're that good mentally, you have a hard time adapting to the military culture. So they want people in the middle. You want people smart enough to do the job, but also malleable enough to do what you need them to. That's what the ASVAB is looking for. They're looking are you in that sweet spot mentally and intellectually?
Well, let me ask you, what do you think? I scored a 57 on my ASVAB.
Get that up. Get
No,
that
well,
up. Is that your overall score?
that's
Yes.
the overall. That's the
Get
overall
up.
number.
Get higher. At least an 80. At least an 80. Please.
If you're not,
That's my opinion.
if you're not in a rush to join for other reasons, if you are doing this solely because you want to, not because you have this feeling like you have to, one, good. Two, study and retake the ASVAB, because having that higher number will, one, better prepare you for the classroom education style of the military, because there are certain technical jobs that if you get into or even adjacent to, they are taking sometimes multiple years of college level material and teaching it to you in a matter of 4 to 6 months. So,
for example, I'm a 25 series. I'm in the communications side of the Army, handling radios, satellites, whatever. I had to go through a 16-week, a 4-month course of college level IT bullshit for the most part.
yeah, so
And you're supposed to be certified equivalent by the time you complete that training. And then you have to actually go to college, or you go to the course. There's specific schools, like after you get done with your basic and AIT, where you actually have to pick up like your Sec Plus certification, your CompTIAs, and all that stuff. You still need those, because otherwise, if you get out of the Army and you don't have them, you're not going to be hired in the civilian sector. Or at the very least, you're not going to be prioritized by them.
Because all militaries all around the world will give you absolutely brilliant training, but they won't give you the bloody qualifications that you need to do the job in Civvy Street. Had exactly that in the Royal Air Force in the 80s. Myself.
Now, the military provides you with the tools necessary to get the certifications you need back in the civilian world. They will not hand them to you because you know how to do that job.
There actually, when it comes to the Army is the only branch in the U.S. military that does this, but there is one job family where they will give you the certification, and that's if you're a field medic. And you will be a paramedic. You will have the national certification to do your job as a medic, as a paramedic, at least entry level on the outside. That is the only one that you get that certification while on active duty. Every other one, though, yes, they will give you the information, they will give you the tools,
but they won't give you the college.
Well, yeah, you have to apply for it, get approved, and get it scheduled, but they give you the tools. You have to complete the back end. That is the one biggest thing to remember about the military across the board. Officer, enlisted, doesn't matter. They will give you the tools. It's on you to do the rest of the work.
Because at the end of the day, you're the one that wants or needs that certification. You're the one that has to prove yourself worthy of it by doing that work.
Right.
This isn't a welfare program.
Not anymore.
Anyway, guys, I'm going to say good night to you because it's time for me to go out and take photographs.
All right. See you,
All
Alan.
right, all right, Alan. We'll see how they turn out tomorrow.
You have fun.
Yeah, I'll by the end of the week or whenever I actually get them bloody sorted out.
Sounds good. Looking forward to it. Take care.
Yeah. See you guys. Bye.
Bye.
But yeah, the whole thing. There is a little bit of fear factor that we want you to understand because it's not that we're trying to discourage you. We want to make
We
sure.
want you to go in informed.
Exactly. We want you to know what you are actually stepping into from a source that ultimately we have no skin in the game. So your recruiter may be helping you to a point. He may be a good guy, but he still has numbers to reach. He still has incentive just to get you in the door and sign on the dotted line.
Because at the end of the day, he still looks at you as a number on a spreadsheet. Nothing more, nothing less.
If he has gone more than that and continues to help do the work more than that, great, you got fucking lucky.
Yes, because some of them will just upright treat you as a number on a spreadsheet. I don't think I got one of those. I probably got more of a midline where he was helping me where I needed it. But at the end of the day, he was just there to do his job.
Yeah, mine was in the middle towards that, and I think I got more of the we're not gonna bullshit you, and part of that is because the rate that the job that my recruiter had outside of recruiting, his primary NEC, he knew my dad because they were the same rate, same subgroup, same everything.
So he was your dad's battle buddy back in the day.
Well, no. It's not that. It's that. Remember how this was before you came on, but Cal, remember before how I said my dad was held back and delayed retirement because they couldn't replace him?
Uh-huh.
My dad was that known in the submarine nuke community at the time. It was only a couple years later that I went through the recruiting process, and my recruiter was an E5 nuke MM that he saw. I did the practice test there and the thing. He's like, oh, this isn't bad. And he's like, oh, well, what jobs have you considered? And I was talking all aviation. And he's like, oh, well, have you ever considered nuke? And I was like, I've thought about it, but no. Why not? Why? I mean, you get this much more in it, and you get out of this school, you get automatic E5, and it's like, yeah, no. I'm fully aware I'm not going nuke. Look at my paperwork again. He flipped to the second page where the parental information was. It's like,
oh,
hey, is your dad? Yes.
That's why I'm saying no.
Exactly.
He told me.
Well, no.
He told me everything.
Well, no. My dad didn't tell me everything, but my dad didn't. It's like, it's going to be your decision, but this is the community that I was in. You know from your side what the family had to deal with. And he told me some of the very basic shit that he got to do, which was exceptionally basic because of the nature of the boats he was on.
Uh-huh.
But I knew enough to go, it's like, yeah, that was the fun stuff. But being in a submarine, having constantly my dad's shadow until I got to E7, which meant that all the people that worked with him and half of the people that worked for him were finally out of the fucking Navy. It would have been that long before I actually got out of his shadow. Or I could go into this other community and my dad's shadow wouldn't have an impact until I went up to the Chiefs board. At which point the name recognition would help, not hurt in that aspect.
I can also say it bluntly: if you're a nuke on a submarine, you're going to spend 90% of your time not having any fucking clue where you're at.
Yeah.
Dude, there's only so many places you can go, though, right?
Well,
No, I mean literally in the literal sense. Like he'll be on the he's on a submarine.
That's it.
All he knows.
Yeah.
I am somewhere in the world. Am
Yeah,
I on Earth? Potentially.
Am I going to the core of the Earth?
Maybe.
Don't know.
Well, and that's the thing is, it is a different environment in that, and also there's even more compartmentalization aboard ship, despite it being relatively a tiny fucking crew. So
basically, it's pretty crammed up in there.
Well, so for frame of reference, so I was aviation. I was on ships as big as you wished. When we deployed, there were a little over 5,000 of us on the ship.
Yeah.
Hey, Tech, how large was your crew?
Oh, mine, including. Do you want that including all the officers and chiefs?
Yes, total.
133.
So, in the Army, that would be about the size of a company, 133. Whereas that 5,000, that would be brigade
About a battalion.
level.
Yeah, battalion to brigade.
It goes without saying that a
That would be a
submarine,
very
though, like
large
everybody
battalion.
knows each other. Like, you know everybody.
Yeah. 150
Yeah,
is about the number that the human brain can handle in connections.
Well, no, I was just, dude, I don't know why I didn't think about this before, but here's comparison. There was a guy that I went through basic training with. We started A school together, but he rocked out and went to a different rate. We ended up on the same carrier the last stint that I did when I did the short term on the Stennis for workups. And it took a week before we ran into each other on the ship. In the same department.
You know what's sad is that when I was in the Navy, when I hit the Eisenhower, I served with 4 other guys that I went to high school with, all from the same little Boduk town in Midlothian, Texas. And it was really funny because the first guy I ran into went to high school with my younger brother. And he was like, "Hey, aren't you from Midlothian, Texas?" I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "I graduated with your younger brother." I was like, "Dude, really? Seriously?" He was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Okay." Then he goes, "Hey, you know these other 3 guys are on the ship?" I was like, "Really?" And he was like, "Yeah." I was like, didn't see him for the first 4 months I was on the carrier. Ran into one guy day 3 and then didn't run into the other 3 guys for 4 months. And they had their own little clique going and everything else. It was like high school again. I was like, guys, I enlisted in the Navy to get away from high school.
I don't want to be back.
Yeah.
So meanwhile, since you're on the Eisenhower, if you pulled my boat up out of the water and cut the sail off, it would fit in one of the hangar decks.
Yeah. Oh, I'm pretty sure if you left the sail on, it would probably fit in the hangar.
No.
No.
Los Angeles class, you take off the sail,
Yeah.
and it would fit in the hangar of a Nimitz.
Yeah, it would just fit in the hangar. If you had the
Yeah.
sail, it wouldn't fit. It cut the sail off. It's just a little bit too tall.
And I'm pretty sure Luna's already lost with all of this.
Yeah, but it just goes to show that it's both a small and large segment that you're going to get into. You're going to run into... You're either going to constantly be running into the same motherfuckers, or you can go your entire career without seeing them again. It's one or the other.
You know, I didn't see anybody I went to boot camp with except for my RDC. I ran into him in Norfolk, and he was on the Washington. He got transferred to the Washington, and that was where I ran into him at. Was he got through with his push through boot camp, and it was like he's sitting there smiling at me as I'm walking by, and he's like, Butler, and I'm like, damn it. Because I recognize his voice instantaneously.
Yeah, both well, so out of my 3 RDCs, we didn't really see Chief that much, but she was a snipe, so I wouldn't have run into her, and she was small boys anyways. The other 2 was an SK and an OS. So minimal chance, plus both of them were first classes on the back end of their careers. I think both of them may have retired by time I got to Japan. But speaking of getting to Japan, there were probably, in the course of about 8 months, there were maybe 70 people who transferred from the command that I was at as my first permanent duty station to that boat. Sometimes you'll run into that where you'll have, over the course of a handful of months, a large group of people go from one base and PCS to another. That's why I say it's feast or famine. You're either gonna constantly run into the same people or go long stretches in between.
You know, that was the one thing, was that I was glad I didn't run into any of the guys that I went through boot camp with, because I couldn't stand any of those guys. You know, I mean, I went through A school with 3 of them, and after we hit the fleet, never saw them again. Yeah. And you know what's funny is living where I'm living at now, I've actually, you know, for as small as this little town is, and let me tell you, this town's 3,500 people max, and that's a stretch.
Basically, a small enough town that you fart, the other people on the other side of town know about it.
Not only that, they smell it as well.
Are we talking about Arkansas? Are we talking about Arkansas here?
Yes, we're talking about Arkansas here.
Oh, you're talking about that little shithole of a town there, you wished?
Yeah, that little shithole of a town.
Yeah, that place sucks.
You know, I'm not from here, and I'm used to small town Texas, but at least in small town Texas, people keep their noses out of your business. Here,
no, they don't. They just don't talk to you about it.
No, they do not. They do not. You know, the sheriff shows up at your doorstep, they'll read about it in the newspaper, and if it don't show up in the newspaper, it wasn't important enough to do it. Here, if the sheriff shows up at your doorstep, they got to know why the sheriff was at your doorstep and who the fuck is going to jail next week.
Yeah, I know how that is. Like, I was out there with you guys too, so
yeah. He stayed what, you stayed 2 months here?
Yeah, and I hated every fucking minute of it.
Well,
don't get me wrong, I love the view. I love the view of the Ozarks, but it wasn't worth sticking around for.
Hey, admit it, Missouri was better.
Yeah, Missouri was better.
He stayed with us a little bit when we were up in Missouri before my mother-in-law passed away. And then he stayed with us 2 weeks here, and then stayed a month and a half with some friends of ours in town, because our landlord,
Don't forget, I also spent a couple of weeks with you before we went up to Arkansas and Texas.
Yeah, you stayed 2 months with me down in Texas.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. I liked that. It was nice.
Hey, man, well, you were working too, so.
Yeah, I was working right with you at the BK. We had it our way.
Yeah, up until I had my heart attack.
Yeah, that was rough, man. Again, I also went to the wrong hospital to come visit you.
Yeah.
But yeah, now I live in Florida.
Yeah, I told him you got a boat somewhere off of the coast of Tampa. So
Oh yeah, I live. I'm not gonna say it on live because I don't want everybody to know my,
Yeah,
that's
that's
listening in
fine.
to know my business. But I do live on my boat.
Now, why are you going Army?
Well, that's actually a really good question. I'm glad you asked. So there's many reasons why I'm going to the Army. One, it's the only branch that would accept me. Second is I need like for me personally, I need I need character, I need some discipline, some structure, in my life, and that's something the Army can assist me with and teach me. And third, it's I want to everybody in my family has gone either Navy, Army, Air Force. I'm the only one that hasn't, so I want to continue in my family's footsteps.
oh yeah, your mom was Navy, wasn't she?
Yeah, my mom's ex-Navy, my brother's ex-Air Force, my stepfather's ex-Army.
Yeah, the Marines are a special breed, so leaving them out of the family tree is a good idea.
Yeah, similar
God
case.
damn it,
on my end.
I miss Main Gun.
Yeah. Where is he?
Living. He stepped
Yeah.
away from the bullshit online, and I don't blame him for it.
Well, let me add some. Isn't it the Marine Corps that's supposed to be more open to take people than the Army?
No.
No.
The Marine Corps shut me down immediately.
Yes, the Marines are. So let me put it this way. The last couple of years, the DoD in general has had a hard time hitting their recruiting numbers. The branch that has been consistently the closest to hitting their goal is the Marines. The Marines are selective. They are more selective than a lot of people realize. But they're a smaller branch to begin with. When it comes to the number of people on active duty, actually, Space Force is a little smaller, but they're also the youngest, and they're not at their optimum manning yet either. So, aside from them, so out of your core four, the Marines are significantly the smallest of the branches in totality.
I didn't even bother trying with the Air Force because I ain't no Harvard scholar.
Well, Air Force, it also depends on what their availability is and what jobs you would qualify for. Air Force tends to be on the higher end, but also if you're not coming straight out of high school, the Air Force looks down on you.
They see me as a dog, a lonely dog.
Well, they're more. Well, why are you just now considering joining?
Yep.
That's where Army and Navy tend to be your better bet than being a non-typical applicant. But ASVAB at 57, that won't exclude you from the Navy. It'll handcuff the jobs that are offered to you based on availability, but you could still go Navy.
Scares me. My mother scares me. She told me if I go Navy, she'd break my fingers before I could sign the contract, and I believe every word of it.
Well,
you could always use some BMs.
What job did she do?
She was a shipmate. I don't know the specifics because she doesn't like talking about it, but she wanted to go in, on a ship, see the world. And instead, they put her on a ship, but she was on the ship, on the side of the ship, underneath the ship. Every part of the ship she was at.
So she was deck department. Okay, that's why she's doing it. The Navy has a saying: choose your rate, choose your fate.
Yep.
And that's where having the knowledge beforehand is going to greatly either impact it's going to impact your experience either way. Whether it's good or bad, that really depends on how honest and how well you know yourself. Because here's the thing. You say you go Army. and you are like, you know what, I want this MOS. They may say you're guaranteed to get that MOS, but you're not. The Army, more than the Navy, will move you to a different MOS for the sole reason of needs of the Army. Yep. The Army plays that game so much more than any other branch. The Navy, on the other hand, this might be where your mom made a mistake. She might not have picked a job when she joined, and that is a fucking mistake. If you can pick a rate when you join the Navy, pick a fucking rate. The reason why? They will not change that unless you fail out of the school. That's it. So the Navy will not change your training plan unless you make them change it because you failed to pass whatever courses are part of that training plan. With that being said, there are some jobs that are more conducive to maintaining some semblance of sanity than others. Being air department, deck department on a carrier or on a small boy, yeah, you're going to be hating life. Because
I think my mom was on a carrier.
Yeah, and if she was undesignated on a carrier, you are doing every menial shit job that there is. That would explain why there was a less than stellar view of the Navy. I, on the other hand, I was a more in-depth technical rate. I was an aviation electronics technician. I got to work direct with the aircraft, but primarily I was repairing electronics that were removed from the aircraft in a nice, comfortable, air-conditioned workspace. That if the air conditioning failed and the shop got above a certain temperature, we can't work on the gear anymore because it's too much of a hazard.
I see.
So depending on the specialty you pick, you can either have a really fucking tit time in the Navy, or you can have a really fucking shit time in the Navy.
Well, either way you go, it's going to be a really shit time.
It's all
Curtis,
what you...
it's you wish, can you make of it. Yeah, so so you're saying it is what you make it. Well, yep. Isn't that kind of like the same for just about any aspect of life? I mean,
no.
Life is what you make it.
No, because there are some situations that are going to be absolute shit no matter what. It's just whether or not you can tolerate it. Whereas, so here's one of the bigger differences between Army and Navy on that aspect. If what you are doing is crucial, the Navy will do far more than any other branch to keep you on that path. Because it is in the contract that you are to go to this particular A school upon completion of basic training. The only time they will change that is if you fail basic training or you get rocked back in basic training far enough that your slot in A school, is out of date. At which point you reclassify, they still offer you another rate. They don't just send you out to the fleet undesignated to chip paint. They only do that to the people who are absolutely bare bones bottom performers or absolute idiots who don't pick a job.
All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to let you guys know I'm about to have to mute myself because I'm about to hop in my boat here to head out to my bigger boat. And it's going to be extremely loud and I'm not going to let you guys see that painting stuff.
Well,
hey, Luna, real quick. Got a couple of guys here.
Hello.
What's up? Y'all too? Y'all behaving?
For the most part.
No, they're not. They're being pains in the asses.
Hey.
They're
Sounds about right. Yeah, that sounds about right. How you doing, Joe?
Not much.
Just trying to convince my
I
brother.
heard you're doing pretty good in wrestling.
Huh?
Heard you're doing pretty good in wrestling.
Yeah.
Keep up the good work, bro.
Last season.
Yeah, he won one match last season. I wouldn't say
Hey,
that.
congrats on the win, bro. A win is a win, no matter what.
Hey, it was my first season. Still,
But hey, I'm not, Curtis. I'm not, bro. I'm not hanging up. I just got to put my mic on mute because it's only like a 4-minute trip to cross the bay.
That's fine.
Well, we're about to take this off air anyways because it is getting to be 11 o'clock at night, and I like my sleep.
It don't matter if I get to bed now or 2 in the morning. I'll wake up around 8:30.
You know what is sleep? What was sleep in the Navy, Jared? I mean, I worked catapults in a wrestling gear. We were constantly, chronically understaffed. We ran 24-hour or we ran 23-hour shifts, 23 on, 1 off.
Well, see,
that was one of those things you have to eat and sleep.
That was
And
that was the beautiful thing about the rate that I was in. I worked 12 on, 12 off.
Oh,
and in that 12 on, that's when I went and got my signatures for both my warfare pins. That's when I went and hit the gym. That's when I went and ate 2 of the 3 meals in the day. Granted, I was also shop supervisor, so I could.
Yeah.
We had the screwed up 6 and 12, you know.
Yeah. And that's where the biggest thing with the branches that is still true today is that there is such variability in how your method of service actually plays out in the Navy that you can have so many different views of what it is. And you'll find that it generally does boil down to what job did the person you are talking to have while they were in. Whereas if you look at like the Army and Marine Corps, there's a universal level of suck and bullshit that's just across the board. And you might have some moments of levity and getting a laugh here or there. But you hear more about the absolute fucking dog shit and bullshit that you deal with. So it really does come down to what are you looking to get out of being in? And is one particular thing to do really what you're going for? Like, for those, this is more for the audience at this point and anyone who may be considering it. If you're like this young buck here who wants to fly helicopters in the Army, if you are dead set that that is what you want to do, great. Keep that goal in mind. Get the game plan put together that will get you there, and chug away at it. Do not take no for an answer. Make them deny you completely. That's the way to go. But if you're not entirely sure of what you want to do, figure out what matters to you most. Is it quality of life? Is it stuff outside of work? Figure out what actually matters. And then find the branch that best fits that. I knew I loved being out on the water, not under it. And I wanted to work with aircraft. So with those two things, wanting to work on aircraft, I cut the Army out off the rip. They're not even a choice for me. But I want to be near the water or on the water. So that took the Air Force off the table too. Also, when looking at it, Air Force promotes at a slower rate. Navy, I was able to make E5 in 3 years. I made rank very quickly. And part of that was the specialty I was in. The bigger part was I knew my fucking job and I had everything to back me up accordingly. So I put in the work to get the promotions as soon as I possibly could. There are things that absolutely sucked and were bullshit while I was in. That's going to happen. But the majority of my time in the Navy was actually enjoyable. It was actually worthwhile. But talking to my brother, who was an Army combat medic and is all sorts of fucked up as a result, he may have wanted to go a different route, but due to other decisions he made between high school and when he joined, kind of took a lot of those options away from him. So, yeah, no. But with that, we've been going for almost 2.5 hours now. I'm gonna go relax, play with a kitty, and then pass out. And yes, you can make whatever innuendo you want of that you can. I can neither confirm nor deny that you're correct, but I'll let you wonder. And for those who are maybe curious, next weekend is Memorial Day weekend. Here's the question for those of you who are on the panel right now. Do you want to do it again on Saturday prior to Memorial Day, or do you have plans Saturday and or Sunday and available Monday? Think about that. We'll see who's going to be available when, but yes, we are coming up on what? This would be the 5th Memorial Day?
Yep, 5 years.
Fuck, time flies.
Damn.
Hey, you know how it goes, man.
So we are going to do a show next weekend. We don't know exactly when. We will adjust considering the holiday. But then after that, my schedule fills back up again. But this may still end up being a monthly thing because the classes that I'm taking this upcoming summer semester aren't that bad. So I'll have the mental capacity to deal with you fuckers.
Maybe.
Oh, no. So in this upcoming summer, I'm only taking one class that's split between the 2 sessions. So it's a math class, and math is not a problem for me. It's more tedious than anything. So we're good there.
Yep. We've heard that before. I call bullshit now.
Well, no, because back then there was other shit because of work that interceded that made issues happen. That's not the case anymore. It's nice working a job that actually, what's the words? Isn't completely fucking retarded. Yeah, that's another thing to worry about for the Army. There's gonna be a lot of shit that just doesn't make sense.
But if it does make sense, it's clearly not Army enough.
So, everyone enjoy. Keep an eye out. We'll be live again next weekend sometime. When we figure it out, I will make the event on the channel as early. I will do the event on the channel as soon as we know when we are going to be going live. Let me put it that way. That way, that way we can have as much warning as possible. But until then, be safe, have fun, and remember, tip your waitress. The pole hurts.